Hi, this is Chris from the Stephanie Miller Show. Please enjoy this exclusive clip from Political Voices Network.
This is what we're dealing with. Psychotic dementia layered over low IQ, layered over long-term drug abuse, layered over malignant narcissism, layered over homicidal sadism, layered over unquenchable bloodlust, layered over a life of crime, layered over treason, layered over a complicit GOP. Thank you. Who's this? Jock on Twitter. Thank you.
And that's just OJ Simpson.
I see what you did. Hey. We know he's talking about Trump. However, someone, Gordon on Twitter actually said, all I have to say about OJ being dead is that Nicole Brown Simpson was the tragic and unwitting pioneer of Believe Women. No one keeps photographs of bruises sustained at the hands of their abuser in a safe deposit box because they're overreacting. Right. May her and Ron Goldman's memories continue to be a blessing. Yeah, this broke during the show yesterday, and all I've tweeted or texted to my friends is I hope Johnny Cochran's overcharging him in hell. Okay. That would be my moment of sympathy for. We didn't get a chance to talk about it a lot because we're here in LA. We're here in the epicenter. But a lot of people have also said there's a straight line from that coverage to where we are today in covering Trump, the sensationalism. We lived in the thick of it. Yeah. Oh, I forgot to confess that I said the dumbest thing ever in the OJ coverage because I was just a baby. I was just a baby talk show host then. I wasn't even, remember, I just came from music radio.
Right, that was your first talk show, wasn't it?
Yes, on KFI. I come from music radio. Everybody just do a couple of jokes, and again, here comes Boys to Men. That was it. Yeah. So I'd been doing talk radio for a minute, and the OJ story broke, and so I'm covering it with Terry Ray Elmer, the newscaster at KFI, and John and Ken and Bill Handel and all. And we're covering the live Bronco chase, and you're trying to fill time, and I didn't know what to say, and I think I said something like, will we know if he shoots himself or will we hear it? Or I said something stupid and everybody looked at me. I was like, I'm a music DJ. I don't know. I'm just filling time. Because remember he had a gun to his head and we were like, okay, well, because someone's like, well, I think we'll see blood or something.
They got Bill Handel to drive into the studio to cover that?
A long time ago. It was in 19. Okay. I don't know if he was there. I can't remember. I know it was T-Ray.
Yeah, because I
know it was.
Right.
I can't remember what time it was.
Probably John and Ken.
But it was during my time.
Right.
Yeah. And so
John and Ken hung out.
I did live coverage of the Bronco chase anyway. But yeah, and I was telling the story yesterday about that the verdict came down when I was on the set for my disastrous late night TV show in 1995. And
it came down in that tiny window of time that you had, you had a late
Imagine
night show?
That, yes.
Those 12 weeks that you were there?
The Danny Bonaducci week of the Stephanie Miller Show.
Okay, that's impressive.
But what's so weird is we all were such a tight, cast and crew. We all loved each other, and we were in hair and makeup. And I remember that moment, all the white people were like, "Oh," and all the black people cheered. And I was like, and look at me, I'm like little, lame ass liberal. How many times have I been called a race traitor and stood up for people of color and civil rights? And so I was not even aware of. But somebody was putting it in context. It was right after Rodney King, where you're like, how did those racist get away with this? Exactly. You understand it's a, as Frangelo talks about, it's a lifetime of seeing it in equal justice. But I remember always saying at the time, Chris, I'm like, justice isn't black or white, it's green.
Yeah.
OJ was able to buy enough.
Absolutely.
Reasonable doubt. And also, a couple of black friends of mine said the same thing I was thinking at the time. They're like, OJ totally rejected the black community.
Yes, he did.
He only dated white women. He only wanted to be at white country clubs, golfing with white guys at clubs that didn't allow black people. I'm like, what? Where did he earn all this loyalty from the black community? I mean, also, did I mention he's a scumbag double murderer? I just thought I should mention that.
He was adjudicated that way in the civil court.
Katie Turr said something about the floundering, and the floundering prosecution team. And I'm like, okay, I get it. Marcia Clark is a personal friend of mine. They were not floundering.
No, they weren't.
They had a mountain of evidence.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what this was about. Are you kidding me? People are like, do you know how many people have been executed on 1/25 of the evidence they had against OJ, right? I mean, and it's just, I remember Dan Abrams, he hired us for our equally, even shorter stint.
On MSNBC?
Yes.
He says he feels guilty about his career being made off of that.
Off of the deaths of two people.
But he talked about that, because could they get more despicable? Did you see what Alan Dershowitz said?
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, if I feel bad for Ron and Nicole, if they've called me, I would have represented them." Oh my God! Way to admit that you have absolutely no principles of any kind. It was like, okay, well, they didn't, so I represented the double murderer instead. Oh, he's always been a despicable piece of. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what was my point?
I have no idea.
Oh, it's that Dan Abrams said, he was talking about, they all knew at the time, his defense team, they all knew he was guilty.
Right.
They said Johnny Cochran said privately he knew that he was guilty. Oh, it's just the whole, but anyway, that's when this whole like media circus started, celebrity and blah, blah. Oh my God, and I thought right to the end, remember yesterday when this broke? OJ tweeted not too long ago, oh my God, a despicable liar right to the end. He said, hospice, I'm not dying. I'm like,
Liar.
this was like a month ago.
Liar. Yeah.
Even to the end. And he quoted Trump in his tweet. He said, as Donald Trump would say, fake news. I'm like, ugh. Speaking of like white guys you want to golf with and you don't, they're just about despicable. Okay. That concludes my OJ coverage.
Okay, thank you.
And see you.
No, I mean, people, Gen Z has no idea how massive that thing was. In the 90s.
God. Yeah. I remember being, that's when I met Marsha Clark at an event. Like, everybody just, like, stood up and was like, oh, my God. Like, they were the first, like, know, and legal ladies.
Right.
I met
lab
Chris
rock
Darden,
stars.
too.
Yeah, and it crossed worlds. It crossed into entertainment. Entertainment Television was carrying the verdict.
Everybody was.
ESPN was carrying it. All of these different channels were carrying it. It also was responsible for killing the soap opera.
Right.
Yes, it did.
And that was the first bit that Jay Leno ripped off from me on the Tonight Show.
Oh,
the Simpson Bunch. We did the whole Brady Bunch thing, and it was that ended up that night on.
Yep.
Yeah.
But the networks would
Maybe
carry
not
it.
him, his writers.
Yeah. The networks would carry it during the day and preempt the soap operas.
And it was awful.
It killed the soap operas.
Yeah. I know, and I remember at the time people go, it's not funny, it's a double murder. And it's like, no, it's not. We're not making fun of that. We're making fun of the circus around it. Because it really, I remember the dancing Itos, and it was such a, but that's what I thought. I understood people saying there was a straight line that we've never sort of recovered media-wise.
But
Joe,
it gave birth to Megyn Kelly. She was hired as a OJ court watcher.
Yeah.
It gave birth to Dan Abrams. It gave birth to Nancy Grace. It gave birth to all these people that are still with us today.
Yeah. Oh.
I know. I mean, it was massive.
Created some swamp creatures.
Yes.
That still roam the earth today. Yeah, Joe tweets a brief summary of the American justice system. OJ got away with murder. Trump got away with a coup attempt. Georgia man sentenced after using stolen credit cards for transaction at Lowe's. 41-year-old was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. I mean, that's what people are talking about. And so I understand, the whole dynamic about black people cheering because they're like, oh, finally, but it just, what else did Alan Dershowitz, as if he could say anything more despicable, just shut up. Could you load my shut up cannon, please? Right. He said something, hang on, hold please, I have it here. Sorry, I interrupt this Trump frenzy for an OJ frenzy 30 years later.
God.
But hang on, I'm trying to get it. Oh, hold please.
What's going on over there?
Oh, for God's sakes. Okay. He said something about, oh, yes, OJ, the done in history is something. But then he said also, like, did the police frame him? I'm like, oh, it'll be debated forever. Did OJ do it and did the police frame him?
It will not be debated forever.
Yes, OJ did it and he did it. And the police didn't frame him. And was Mark Fuhrman a racist, despicable piece of as well? Yes. But, oh, my God. And
he said, and I'll quote him for you. I'm very sympathetic with the Goldmans and the Brown family.
Oh, shut up.
I wish I could have been on their side. You could have. But I wasn't. And in the end, I think history will remember OJ Simpson as someone who possibly did it, but who the police tried to frame.
Oh, my God.
Shut up. You shut up. You shut up.
Shut the up. Shut all the way the up until you reach the top of Shut Mountain where there are no more ups to shut.
Okay. We know that's from Grace and Frankie.
Yes.
Thank you.
Please stop writing us right now. I see you. I see you emailing us.
Uh-huh.
That's not the one we don't know where it's from.
Put the keyboard
we
down.
We know that is from. Back slowly away from the keyboard. We know that's from Grace and Frankie. What were we saying? Yeah, right. And the way he put that, Jody, like, did he do it? Like, there's some question as to whether he did it, and the police framed him. The police didn't frame him.
Right.
Oh my God.
They didn't want to frame him.
I mean, one of the
Nobody wanted
frustrating
that.
things is all the stuff that came out in the civil trial. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just like, holy God, the picture of the Bruno Malleys on his feet, the carpet fibers from, what do you call it? His car that were on Nicole Simpson. I mean, give me a break. Oh my God. Yeah. I remember one of the jurors at the time. They're just like, well, we just didn't feel like we saw any evidence. What? This blood, DNA, fibers, By the way, so case in point too, everybody's talking about the New York Times, but there is a straight line, right? From, speaking of despicable pieces that only want to golf at white country clubs, OJ and Trump, or Orange in Trump's case.
Sure.
Orange people clubs. The New York Times came under fire over its obituary for OJ Simpson because, of course, I get that. Of course, you're going to mention his football and movie career or whatever. But then, in two different places, they said his world was ruined after he was. Oh no! Yeah, Nicole and Ron's world and the Goldman and what do you call it? Brown Simpson's family's world was ruined.
There's a different way to put
his
that.
His world was ruined after he was charged with killing his former wife and her friend. Oh, the wah. Let me call a ambulance for OJ. His world should have been ruined. He should have been in prison. Oh my God. I remember saying that about that. They were saying that they had like one. I don't know. People have been executed in our country on 1/25 of the evidence that they had against OJ. And I remember someone looked at me. They're like, this country will never fry OJ Simpson.
No.
He's
he was beloved up until that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. I said hi to him once at USC. I'd like to take it back now.
Were you at USC at the same time?
No.
He was probably visiting.
I'm not that old.
He was at UC. He was at SC in the 60s.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know how old you are. You muddied the waters.
Right in front of. Now you're starting to believe the big lie. You see how it is? You're like the Sidney Powell of the Stephanie Miller Show now. You'd believe it. Are you Rudy? I can't remember. Anyway, I was walking by Tommy Trojan in the center square when I was at USC, and OJ was walking by. And I was like, "Hi, OJ!" And he did that big smile. And,
was Paul in there too, since you were in the center square?
He's gonna murder people. I wouldn't wave. Okay, that's what. Okay, John Fiegel's saying wins Twitter. He said OJ Simpson is going to hell to continue his search for the real killer. He's going to join us from the airport. He's on his way to Minneapolis.
Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. I hope you'll join me on my new audio podcast, Justice Matters. I'll be using my 30 years as a federal prosecutor and Army JAG to unpack, break down, and explain the legal issues of the day, particularly where the legal intersects with the political. Please look for Justice Matters with Glenn Kirshner wherever you generally get your podcasts.